The love God has for you may feel wrong at first, not because He is confusing you, maybe because He is not. There is no chase, no silence to decode, no wondering whether one wrong message will make Him disappear. He is kind, clear, consistent. And instead of immediately feeling relieved, part of you may quietly wonder, why doesn't this feel like what I felt before? Because what feels familiar is not always what is healthy. If your past taught you that love comes with anxiety, uncertainty, emotional highs, and the constant fear of losing someone, then something steadier may feel unfamiliar at first. Not because something is missing, because something painful is missing. Healthy love may feel quieter, slower, less consuming. And if you do not understand that, you can mistake peace for lack of chemistry, consistency for boredom, and safety for a connection that is somehow not deep enough. So before you decide that different means wrong, let me show you why the kind of love you have been praying for may not feel anything like what you had before. First, you may not have to wonder so much. Maybe your previous relationship trained you to become very good at reading small changes. You could tell something was wrong from the way he said good morning. You noticed when his replies became shorter. You knew when he was pulling away before he ever admitted it. So you learned to pay attention to everything. A delayed response, a different tone, a weekend when he seemed distant. A conversation that ended too quickly. You were always trying to understand what was happening because clarity never seemed to last very long. Then, imagine meeting someone who tells you what he means. He says he wants to see you, and then he makes a plan. He is interested, and you do not have to extract that information from hints. When something bothers him, he talks about it instead of disappearing for 3 days and making you wonder whether the relationship is over. At first, that may sound wonderful, but emotionally, it can feel strange, because when you are used to uncertainty, clarity does not always create the same rush. There is nothing to solve, no puzzle, no dramatic relief when he finally gives you the reassurance you have been waiting for. You may even find yourself creating questions where there were none. Does he really like me? Why is this moving so normally? Shouldn't I be feeling more? But maybe what you are missing is not love. Maybe you are missing the cycle that used to make love feel intense. Think about how powerful relief can feel after days of uncertainty. He pulls away, and you become anxious. Then, he comes back. Suddenly, everything feels amazing again. The conversation is deeper. The affection feels stronger. You feel chosen all over again. But part of that emotional high came from how afraid you were just before it. Healthy love does not need to keep taking security away so that giving it back feels romantic. That does not mean a healthy relationship will never confuse you. Every relationship will have misunderstandings, difficult conversations, and moments when you do not immediately know what the other person is thinking. But confusion should not become the atmosphere you have to breathe in order to stay connected to someone. Healthy love can ask hard questions. It can require patience. It can move through uncertainty. But you should not need a new interpretation of the relationship every week. You may discover that clarity feels less dramatic than uncertainty. Give yourself time to learn that less dramatic does not mean less real. There is another difference that can be even harder to recognize. You may not feel the same urgency. In the past, perhaps you met someone and everything became intense very quickly. You talked for hours. You shared things you had barely told anyone else. You imagined the future before you truly knew one another. You felt as though something enormous was happening. Maybe you thought, I have never felt this way before. And perhaps the connection really was powerful. But intensity and intimacy are not always the same thing. Sometimes you can feel extremely close to someone before there is enough history to know whether that closeness can actually hold weight. Healthy love may grow differently. You may go home after a date without needing to know exactly what everything means. You may like him without immediately imagining your wedding. There may be attraction without obsession, interest without panic, and that can make you question the connection. You may think, where is that feeling? But the feeling you remember may have included fear. Fear that you would lose him. Fear that someone else would take your place. Fear that if you did not become important enough, quickly enough, he would leave. That fear creates urgency, and urgency can easily be mistaken for depth. Song of Songs gives us a simple warning more than once. Do not awaken love before its proper time. There is wisdom in allowing something to grow at a pace where reality can catch up with emotion. You do not need to know everything in the first month. You do not need to decide whether someone is your husband before you have watched how he handles disappointment, responsibility, conflict, faith, money, family, and ordinary life. Sometimes the safest love gives you enough room to actually see the person, and yes, at first, that may feel less exciting than being swept away. But being swept away is not always the same as being carried somewhere good. A slower beginning can give love something intensity cannot give it. Time to become true. Then there is a difference many women do not expect. Healthy love may make you uncomfortable too, not because he is treating you badly, because being treated well can reveal how difficult it has become for you to receive. Maybe he compliments you, and you immediately make a joke. He does something thoughtful, and you start wondering what he wants in return. He tells you that something bothered him calmly, and your body prepares for the punishment that used to follow conflict. You make a mistake and wait for him to withdraw, but he stays in the conversation. And now you have to face something you never had time to face when you were constantly trying to keep the relationship alive. Your own fear. There is a difference between a relationship that creates wounds and a relationship that exposes wounds that are already there. Healthy love can reveal that you still expect abandonment. It can show you how quickly you apologize for having needs. It can reveal that you are more comfortable giving than receiving. Maybe you spent years proving that you were easy to love. You were understanding, flexible, patient. You did not want to ask for too much. You became very good at being the woman who could handle everything. Then someone comes along and says, "You can tell me what you need," and you do not know what to say. That moment can be more vulnerable than all the chasing you did before, because now there is nowhere to hide behind being useful. You have to let yourself be known. 1 John chapter 4 tells us that perfect love drives out fear. A healthy relationship cannot do in you what only God can do, but it may reveal the places where fear is still making your decisions. You notice it. You bring it to God. You stop letting it decide what everything means, and slowly you learn that a disagreement does not automatically mean abandonment. A quiet day does not mean rejection. A boundary does not mean someone loves you less. You do not have to perform perfectly to remain cared for. So if healthy love exposes places in you that still expect pain, do not immediately assume that means the relationship is wrong. Pay attention to what is actually happening. Are you being disrespected? Or are you simply experiencing a kind of safety you have not learned how to trust yet? Those are very different things. And if this is where you recognize yourself wanting healthy love, but realizing that part of your heart may still be expecting what hurt you before I created the still point, a 30-day devotional for the woman who is waiting. Each day is designed to help you return to Scripture, become steadier in God, and let Him reshape what you expect from love before another person becomes the center of the story. You can find it in the pinned comment or through the first link in the description. And there is another way healthy love may feel different. You may not have to work so hard to keep it. Maybe, in the past, love felt like something that could disappear if you relaxed, so you were always adjusting. If he became distant, you became more affectionate. If he seemed unhappy, you tried to become easier. If he was uncertain about the relationship, you became more impressive. You thought about what to say before bringing up something that hurt because you did not want to push him away. Sometimes you ignored your own disappointment because keeping the connection felt more important than telling the truth. Then, without realizing it, you began measuring love by effort. The harder you fought for it, the more valuable it seemed. The more you sacrificed, the more impossible it became to walk away. So, imagine how strange it can feel when someone meets you halfway. You do not have to convince him to communicate. You do not have to remind him that you exist. You do not have to become less needy, less emotional, less ambitious, less yourself, just to keep him interested. There is effort, yes. Every meaningful relationship requires it, but the effort is shared. You are not dragging the relationship forward while calling his occasional participation progress. This can almost feel suspicious at first. You may think, why is he making this so easy? But perhaps love was never supposed to feel like a job interview you had to keep passing. Ephesians chapter 5 describes love through giving, care, and sacrifice. The picture is not one person endlessly auditioning while the other decides whether she has earned enough to stay. Mutual love allows both people to show up. There is room for your needs. There is room for his. There is responsibility on both sides. You will still make sacrifices. There will still be seasons when one person carries more because life is difficult. But the relationship itself should not depend on you constantly convincing someone that it deserves to exist. Healthy love may require work. It should not require you to work for the right to be loved. And perhaps this is where love will feel most different of all. Peace may stop feeling empty. This may take time. Because when your heart has spent years associating love with anticipation, fear, reunion, disappointment, and relief, stability can initially feel almost flat. Nothing terrible is happening. And you are waiting for something terrible to happen. Maybe you are sitting beside a good man one evening. Nothing dramatic happened that day. You had dinner. You laughed about something small. He asked how you were doing and actually listened to the answer. There was no grand declaration, no emotional crisis, no desperate reconciliation. You simply felt safe. And a younger version of you might have called that boring. But perhaps the woman God is shaping in you will recognize it differently. She will notice that she can breathe. She will notice that she does not have to check his mood before being herself. She will notice that she can enjoy love instead of constantly monitoring whether she is about to lose it. She will stop believing that pain is what makes connection profound. Philippians chapter 4 speaks about the peace of God guarding our hearts and minds. Peace is not emotional numbness. It does not mean there is no attraction, passion, laughter, adventure, or desire. Healthy love can be deeply romantic, but romance does not have to keep injuring you in order to remain exciting. You can experience chemistry without confusion, passion without instability, desire without losing yourself, and perhaps that will be the strangest part. The relationship may begin to feel less like something you have to survive and more like somewhere you are allowed to live. That does not mean a good man will be perfect. He will disappoint you. You will disappoint him. There will be moments when you misunderstand each other, seasons when life becomes difficult, and conversations neither of you enjoys having. Christian love is not a fantasy where the right person removes every discomfort. The difference is what happens inside those moments. Does conflict become punishment, or does it become a conversation? Does vulnerability become ammunition, or is it handled with care? When something breaks, does one person disappear, or do both people take responsibility for repair? That is where you begin seeing the difference between a love that only feels powerful and a love that can actually become strong. And there is something else you need to know. You may miss the old intensity sometimes. Even after you understand all of this, you may remember how alive you felt during certain moments with someone from your past. You may compare. You may wonder why a healthier connection does not produce the same emotional extremes. That does not mean you should go backward. Memory is selective. It can replay the reunion and forget the 3 days of anxiety that came before it. It can remember how deeply he looked at you and forget how often you went home confused. It can preserve the chemistry and soften the cost. So be gentle with yourself when old feelings return. You do not have to rewrite the past and call everything terrible. Some moments may have been beautiful. Some of the love may have been real. You can honor that and still admit that the relationship taught your heart things it now needs to unlearn. Perhaps that is part of what God is doing in this season, not only preparing someone for you, preparing you to recognize love differently, teaching you that being wanted is not the same as being pursued inconsistently, that excitement is not the same as instability, that forgiveness does not require endless access, that chemistry cannot carry what character refuses to build, and that peace is not the absence of love. Sometimes peace is what love feels like when fear is no longer doing half the work. So when the right kind of relationship begins to look different from your past, do not immediately compare the volume. Look at the fruit. Can you tell the truth? Can you remain yourself? Can both of you take responsibility? Can affection survive an ordinary day? Does the relationship help you become more honest, more peaceful, more grounded in God, not more consumed by the fear of losing it? You are not looking for perfection. You are looking for something that can grow without requiring you to abandon yourself. That may feel unfamiliar. Let unfamiliar be unfamiliar for a while. You do not have to force yourself to feel something that is not there. Healthy does not automatically mean compatible, and a good man is not necessarily your man. But do not reject peace merely because chaos once gave you butterflies. Do not assume love is weak because you are not afraid every day. Do not confuse the absence of emotional whiplash with the absence of passion. Different does not mean wrong. Sometimes different is exactly what you prayed for. Maybe the love God is teaching you to receive will not feel like the old chase. Maybe you will not spend your nights wondering where you stand. Maybe you will not have to recover from the person you are trying to build with. Maybe love will leave enough room for you to hear God, keep your friendships, pursue your calling, and still recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. That kind of love may not recreate your past. Thank God for that. You already know where the old patterns lead. You do not need a more spiritual version of the same wound. You need enough healing to recognize when something different is actually better. If this is what you are asking God to teach you, write this in the comments. Different does not mean wrong. Before you go, recognizing healthy love when it arrives begins long before another person enters the picture. It begins with what you allow God to heal, what you learn to stop romanticizing, and where you return when old patterns start feeling familiar again. The Still Point was created to walk with you through 30 days of that deeper work, with scripture, reflection, prayer, and space to write, so your waiting season can become a place where your heart grows steadier instead of simply more impatient. And if some nights you would rather listen than read, there is a complete audio version too, so you can close your eyes and listen. You can find it in the pinned comment or through the first link in the description. Come walk those 30 days with me. You do not need the next love to feel like the last one in order for it to be real, beloved. Maybe the fact that it feels different will be part of the gift.